Welcome to part 3 of EX2 Get Date. And I just want to apologize, my microphone was up a little bit high for the first two videos, so you're getting kind of that maybe static at the end when I start talking loud. So I turned it down a little bit, so it should be a little better, and I'll try to make sure I adjust that next time. So hopefully it didn't feel like I was screaming at you when I was talking on the last video. So anyway, back to part 3 here. All that we have to do is make arrays to convert numbers into strings, because the days of the week are strings and the months are strings. So what we're going to have to do, and again, we're building up a lot of code here. It's all inside the script tags, and we're going to keep doing that. And keep in mind that we don't have to make any new paragraphs. We have our 5 paragraphs, which are here, and we have our date string paragraph, which is here, and we're just going to change that. So we don't have to make paragraphs. So that's all set. What we do have to do is make some arrays. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an array for days of the week, and then we're going to make, and we'll do it 2 different ways, and we'll do an array for the months. So whichever one we want to do first. We don't have to do all the months, although we should, but we could just do a couple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that right after this part here. Well, we could always move it, but I'm going to go right here and start my array. And what I'm going to do, it's an object. An array is an object, and it's basically a list of things. But what's important about the list is the order that they are in the list are very important. So we could match up the order January with the first one will match up to 0. So everything in an array has an order of like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And whatever you put in that array will translate to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll help us translate our array, our numbers of dates into strings. So I'm going to create an array first for, I guess our first thing is the day of the week. So I'll do that first. So I'll do var. And basically, I'll call it something, and I'll call it weekdays, because that's what it's going to be. That's the name of our array. And just like our object that we did here, we're going to call it a new array. So we're going to say equals new array. And we'll put a little parentheses and a semicolon, just like we finish off an object. So an array is another type of object, and it's basically a list. And what we're going to do for this list is we're just going to add our things to the list. And the way we do this is one way, and there's another way that'll be easier, but I'll show you this way first. We're going to put in weekdays. We use square brackets. You'll see square brackets with arrays, and I'm going to put 0, and I'll just put equals, and weekdays 0 will be Sunday. I guess the week starts with Sunday, so I think Sunday is 0, so that's right. 1 is Monday, 2 is Tuesday. So that'll be Sunday, and I'll make sure that I put this as a string, and I'll put a semicolon. And what you do for this way of initializing an array basically puts all the elements, so that you know that 0 is Sunday. It basically says this is the array, and the first element of the array is going to be Sunday, and that's the way it's set up. So an array is basically a list of variables. You could look at it that way. So what I'll do is I'll copy these, and I'll just paste them, and so I know how many to paste. After Sunday comes Monday, and then so on. So I'm going to basically paste these and have Monday all the way through to Saturday, and then I'm also going to change these numbers. So I won't record that, so let me pause and do that. Okay, I wrote them all in here, and what I also have to do, I didn't do this yet, but I just have to translate all these. It's important that you do this, and this basically indicates what position in the array each one is. So there's going to be 0 through 6. The first one being 0, and 2 was Tuesday. So this will basically translate our 2, the second order, into a Tuesday. That will help us match that up. And we can do that first. We'll see how to do that first. And all I'm going to do is just change. I don't have to change our variable. I'm going to keep our variable to be the same, to be day. So I'm going to keep it to be day. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap. This is defining our variable. It's basically getting the day of the week, and it's returning a number. So this is returning, right now, it's returning a 2. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to put weekdays, and I'm going to put a bracket, and I'm going to finish it off with a bracket here. Now you don't have to keep the semicolon inside there. You could just say d.getDay. And basically what that means is whatever's inside here will basically translate. So it'll change weekdays into this. So the day will actually be equal to the weekday number. So this is going to translate back to that, and we'll just have to make sure that we're defining our array up here, but we're using it down here. We may have to change the order, but let's just see if that works first. We'll try it out. So day should still, so day is basically pulling the first value of d.getDay, and it should be matching up to Tuesday. So let's see if this works. And it says Tuesday, so it works. So even though we declared the array up here, well, I guess that's good. We declared the array up here and we did it there. So it's good that we did that. And that's all we have to do for that. So we just made an array called weekdays, and it still gets a variable name. You don't say array weekdays. You say variable weekdays equals a new array. And the array is just a special variable that has basically indicates numbers in a sequence. So that matches up. So if it was a different day, once tomorrow ticks off, it's going to be Wednesday. It's going to get the day and say today's day 3. It's going to put a 3 in there, and it's going to say, okay, day equals weekdays 3, which already is Wednesday. So it's going to substitute Wednesday in there. So that's the way to do that. It's a little tricky. Let's do another array. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a second array. We'll do it differently. Now, if you go to JavaScript, the W3 schools, they talk about arrays, and they'll show you to do arrays a little bit differently. I don't even know if they show you this method anymore. They talk about arrays, creating an array, and all that. And basically, the important thing with an array is that it's basically a list of things in square brackets. This is all that you have to do to make an array. You just have to say var something and then just put things, and they'll translate to 0, 1, 2. They'll translate like that. So, if you see this little example here, it's going to say car 0, and it's going to put in the sob. So if I tried this myself, I went in there. Because it's using the array number of that one, it's going to say 0, and it's writing sob up there. So it's a little simpler way to write it, although it's not as ordered as what we did. So I'm going to go back to this one. So it's a little shorter. You still have to put everything in quotes. So we're going to set up our arrays for the months. And like I said, we don't have to do all 12 months right now because, the semester will be over in May, and who knows when you'll look at this again. You'll get the idea. So we're going to set up another array. I might as well put it right under this one. And the way this array works, this is just another method. And while we're at it, I'm just going to put a little comment here, and I'll put alternative array method. And this is just a comment. It's a JavaScript comment, so it has to be inside the script tags. It can't be with the HTML. So this is a single line comment. You can do them like this. You can also put the /*, and then at the end, you don't have to put anything at the end if it's a single line comment. But I'm going to put that in right now. In other programs and other pieces of software, it'll show up gray. It's just not showing that right now. It doesn't color code the JavaScript. That's why we'll use other software eventually when we do more JavaScript. But for now, that's just a little comment just saying this is another method. This is a more traditional method. This is a faster method. And what I'll do is I'll basically say, and we can even look at arrays and see how they do it. And they do same thing. They just basically say var and then the name of your array, and then you just start making it. So it's a little simpler. And I'll say var, and I'll just say months. I guess that's what we're working with. I'll just say months. And then I'll just say equals, and then I just start my array in square brackets. Square brackets is like an indicator. So the first one in the list is going to be January, and I'll put a quote, and then I'll put a comma, and the second one in the list will be February, and I'll finish that in a quote. So you could put the comma after the quote. This isn't like English where you have to put the comma inside the quote. So I'll pause here, finish this off, and then we'll be ready to convert our months array into an actual month name. Okay, I put in my months, and I put in January through June. I didn't put all the way through the end of the year because this is just for this semester, and it'll just get the idea across. But if we run the code, it's not going to do anything yet because we just set up our array, except we're not using our array to get the value out of our variable for months. So what we're going to do, just like we did with the other one, we're going to do it the same way. We're going to put months here and then put a square bracket and just kind of wrap this in months so that it basically translates. There's my square bracket, and it basically translates. So it substitutes instead. We are getting a number because remember this returns a number. So the month returns a number of 0 if it's still January. So basically, it's going to be month 0, and month 0 we already know is going to be January. So it's going to substitute. So we're basically saying the month is the same as month 0, which basically month 0 is going to be January. So that should work. And I'll run my code, and there it goes. Tuesday is January, comma, January 30. Wait a minute. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, 2017. Now, if we wanted to, we could put a quote and put like an ST there, except that's a little tricky because remember, there's not every date ends in ST. Some end in ND, some end in RD, so you know that requires some if-else statements. So if you knew what number it was, it would have to be, you know, an RD or an ND or an ST or a TA. So we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it the way it is right now, but that's pretty much it. I just also want to mention, you might say, well, what would happen if it was July? You know, and probably I'm guessing what would happen, it would say undefined. So just for example, I'm going to cut this for a second and run the code, and I'm thinking what's going to probably happen is going to say undefined, but I'm not sure. And it says Tuesday, February 31st. So actually it didn't say undefined. What it did was it actually used the first one in the list. So it bumped February to the first one in the list. I thought I could kind of fudge that a little. It bumped February to the first of the list. So now February, it's thinking it's February. Let me put that back. I'd actually have to, you know, we'd have to be at a month where, because I was curious of what would happen at the end. I think what would happen at the end if there would be no 7 or 6 or whatever's at the end. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it was July, what would happen? It would probably say undefined, but in this case, it just jumped and used the first one in the list, and it just bumped February up there. So that's what it should look like. That should be everything for part 3. What I want to do is I want to change the name and call it part 3, and then do save as new JS. And that basically what it'll do is it'll make a new one. So you change the name first, and then you save as new JS, and then you still have your other one. So if I go back to here and I look at my list, I should have, there's my alert, there's my get part 3, part 1, and part 2. So I have all my parts here. I have other ones that I did before when I was kind of practicing this, and these are my newer ones. So you're going to have a part 1, part 2, part 3. You could just send me the part 3, and if you named them correctly, I'll check your part 2 and part 1, because obviously everything in part 1 and part 2 is, I think, in part 3, so you should be okay. But again, you're just going to send me the URL to that. If you click on part 3, all that you have to do, you could just do it up here. You could just highlight that, paste it in an email like some of you have, and then I just click on it and I check it out. So, and I'll check out some of your other ones. If you want to send me all 3 URLs of part 2, part 3, and part 1, I'll check those out too, just to make sure. So that's it for EX2. Have fun working on it.